Hello people, I'm Jaby KOAY, joined by ACHARA KIRK,
Hi.
and we're talking about sacred games yet again, episode 3 this time, Atapi Vatapi. Atapi Vatapi. Radhika Apte. So, I've been saying her name a lot lately, it's just been rolling off the tongue. I know that I'm probably not pronouncing her name correctly.
Well, it's pronunciation, but you pronounce.
English is just a dumb language. That being said, I'm probably saying Radhika Apte's name incorrectly, but it just rolls off the tongue in a very fun, delightful way. Mm-hmm. So I've been saying it with a lot of
gusto.
vigor.
What is going on? Jaby's just going, Radhika Apte, Radhika Apte, Radhika Apte. And I'm like, okay, calm down.
It's that, and I got royalty inside my DNA. The woman found in the bunker leads Sartaj to Gaitonde's thug, Bunty. In a flashback, Gaitonde recalls stealing a lucky charm from rival Suleiman Issa. That was a fun, interesting scene, but we'll get to that in a hot second. This is the first episode I felt where this really felt like a connecting tissue as opposed to its own contained story. It felt kind of fragmented.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It didn't feel like a full episode. It felt like just kind of a continuation of the story, which is fine. I mean, eventually when you got deep enough into something like Game of Thrones, it felt the same way, where it was just kind of fragments of stories because you're starting to continue each of these individuals. I mean, they've introduced a lot of characters and you're kind of following all of their paths at once.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I initially was a little bit reluctant about that. I was more excited to follow Saif Ali Khan's character and Nawazuddin's character and just kind of their storylines as much as possible. In episode 2, that was like a negative feeling I had, but I didn't want to talk about that just yet. I wanted to see where it went. The other characters are definitely interesting people.
Yeah.
So they feel three-dimensional, they feel real, and so it makes it okay to explore where their stories go.
I just really like this type of story because I'm the sort of person who loves to like try and piece things together.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting to me every time they introduce a new character to see like how it's going to play out, how are they involved.
Yeah, one of the cool things they did, at least with regards to Saif Ali Khan's character, he starts negative, ends positive, or the other way around. Like,
what do you mean?
In the first episode, for instance, he starts out rebelling against his boss, in a bad place with his colleagues, and at the end, he earns for a moment at least it would seem, he earns the respect of his colleagues because supposedly he killed Nawazuddin Siddiqui's character, right?
Right.
But at the beginning of episode 2, he's put on suspension. It's relatively near the beginning. And then at the end of the episode, he has a victory. He found the money.
Yeah.
In this episode, it starts out with that, like, look, I found the evidence, and I'm working with Raw, and it's all, you know. And the guy came in and punched him in the face, his superior officer, and then he punched him back with the ring. So he got him once. He was like, look, I don't know what that was. I think it was a
gang war.
I don't know what that was. It just
probably
seems fitting that we're talking about this. He manages to clock him back, which probably was like a long time coming. Like, he really wanted to do that way more than the dude wanted to punch him. He goes to talk to the Raw officer, and the Raw officer walks in. And so it was like a little bit of a victory there.
Yeah.
But then, at the end of the episode, this girl's life is now in danger. What's her name? Gitanjali Thapa.
That's the actress. The character's name is Nayanika.
And so he's at a different place. It started out mostly positive, and now it's negative.
Yeah.
And I like that kind of dichotomy, that switch off that's happening each episode. Instead of it's, staying one and there being no fluctuation in what's going on with these characters, it's constantly shifting, which is great.
That's so interesting because until you said that, it hadn't even crossed my mind.
Well, I mean, that's a mark of good writing.
Yeah.
Is when your characters are constantly put on edge. Like, it keeps you as well as the audience on the edge of your seat. The only one who's continually ascending so far is Nawazuddin Siddiqui's character. But I mean, you know how that ends. So
Yeah.
There was a moment when Radhika Apte walks in and she urges Saif Ali Khan to continue looking for certain information, right? I was a little bit peeved that she wasn't guaranteeing him that he'll keep his job.
Yeah. Or at least that he might be recruited into a role.
Or, that promoted. Something where he's protected. Because she's like, if you really cared about your job, you wouldn't be doing this. Peace. I'm like, what? What? So, wait, like, you need to give him some kind of assurance. That was a little bit frustrating. Just story character-wise, I'm like, no, she should be doing something to reward him for finding this and helping her out and whatnot. She's just putting him on another mission. I don't know what that is.
I really hope that those are just firecrackers.
So where does Saif Ali Khan's character, where does his story conclude in this episode?
He gets a call from Nayanika.
I wondered how he got onto the set, because he didn't say he was a cop until that moment.
Yeah.
He didn't say he was an investigator or whatever until that moment. I was like, wait, so how'd you get there? Like,
maybe TV sets are just super chill.
I don't know about that.
Speaking of this character, Nayanika, I really liked her, and I like the actress that plays her as well. She has this really like nice, sweet quality. And then seeing how the police chief or chief inspector, whoever the head, his boss is, Parulkar, and the politician, seeing them in the flashback scenes. Was really cool as well, because now we're getting a sense of like how deep this really goes.
Right, and the history that they share together. That is all that is cool to see the overlap and whatnot, and you start to get a sense as to why these people cared about what they cared about.
Yeah, why everyone was so like shocked when they found out that he had come out of hiding and he died.
Jitendra Joshi, the Constable Katakar. There's this recurring thing that's going on in the show with this woman who lost her son. And he's very dismissive of her, and he closed the door on her. I'm just wondering where that's gonna go, because I feel like in my gut, that's not gonna go anywhere very good.
No.
I feel like it's gonna end up very bad for him. Like, something's gonna come back around where it's like, see, you should have done the thing. There was this Outer Limits show I watched many years ago when I was a kid. I think it was Outer Limits. And what happened was this guy was just wandering through an alleyway and he saw a demon. And he's like, I promise I won't say anything. And the demon like scratches his chest and says, you cross your heart, hope to die, that kind of thing. And basically he made an agreement with this devil. He would never, ever, ever speak of this demon ever again. And then this guy, I know I'm going down a tangent, but it's interesting, believe me. So what happens is the guy, he can't say anything to anybody, but he can't help but express it somehow. So he draws it out in these sketches. He meets a woman, falls in love. They have kids together. He still hasn't said anything. Many years have passed since meeting this demon. And then finally he can't help himself anymore. And he tells her, and he's like, all right, look, I got this thing I got to show you. And he shows her, and he goes, many years ago I met this demon, blah, blah, blah.
Her being his wife.
He tells it to the wife, and then the wife turns into the demon, and then the babies turn into baby demons, and then she kills him. It's like, see, you should have kept your mouth. It's been planted in my head since I was a kid that these things come around. Like, if you keep like poking the line in the face, these things come around. And this woman, I know I'm using weird analogies, but like this woman keeps coming back and he keeps dismissing her. Something messed up, I feel like, is gonna happen. And to those of you who have watched all 8 episodes, I don't care if you already know what happens. Like, this is where I'm at emotionally at this point in time. I'm like, this is gonna be so bad. It's gonna be so much bigger than the show is letting on right now.
Well, I think one of the underlying themes or conflicts or something is religion. I read some of the comments that you guys have been posting that the titles have something to do with, like, I guess the Ramayana, and then this one has something to do with these two demons or something, the two demon brothers. And it was a very interesting analogy for religion itself. You're being fed the doctrine, right? And you feel good, you feel full, you're not hungry anymore. And then suddenly the demon comes forth and destroys you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So bringing it back around.
You told that in a very weird way. That's why I didn't know what you're talking about at first. Because if I recall correctly, what happens is you got these two brothers, one turns into a goat and then gets eaten.
Yeah,
and
they're brother demons. Though.
Right, and then the brother who's not eaten calls his brother out, and then they basically come through the stomachs of all the people that ate the goat.
Yeah, because they're just travelers and they trick them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys know. So this woman, this lady who keeps coming around, she's Muslim. Also in the series, there's this conflict between the different religions, and even Gaitonde said Bunty was causing this friction between the Muslims and the Hindus within the gang.
Because he was bullying them.
So it seems like religion is this like constantly recurring theme. It keeps coming back somehow. And that woman, the police officer, was all like, your son's probably gone to join ISIS or whatever. Why don't you go check there? Religion is important in this series. I just am not quite sure how.
It makes sense to me that someone like Anurag Kashyap would do that. Because his whole thing, I feel like on some level, is making you reflect on yourself.
Yeah.
And making you examine do a self-examination in terms of your own belief system and how you behave and treat people, especially things that we take for granted and and don't really consider with deeper thought, and we just subscribe to it because we've been told we should subscribe to it. Even prejudices and being and mistreating people, like we just kind of subscribe to these ideologies and these habits because we've been taught that. It's been passed down. It just coincides with Anwar Kashyap's style. I mean, I don't know if he's the one that solely brought that to the table in terms of the show, but it just makes sense that he'd be part of something like that. Let's talk about how Nawazuddin Siddiqui picked up this lady. His character has such a ridiculous amount of confidence. Like the scene when he brought the necklace, like the Titanic scene, when he puts the necklace around Rose's neck. I was just like, he's looking at her in the mirror and he's saying all these things. I put myself automatically in that position going, wow, like, could I keep going on and on like that?
Could you be that suave?
Could I be that suave and just keep pushing and just keep pushing? Firstly, I wouldn't mess with another dude's woman. That's just bad news. But as I'm sure we'll see in the show, he just keeps going. He's very persistent, and eventually he gets her. It's even more impressive that he doesn't have the aesthetic, the height of the guy that she's currently with, but he doesn't give a shit. He's like, I'm gonna get her anyway. I'm gonna get that lucky charm.
Well, there's something very sexy about that, and I really liked Cuckoo as well, the lady, because she had so much confidence. I just liked how she reacted to him. Like, she wasn't offended. She was just so sexy. Like,
well, she knew what time it was.
Yeah, she was like, and what?
Right.
What are you gonna do?
I mean, she was so nonchalant about everything that when the guns were coming out, she was still dancing and laughing.
I bet she was turned on by it.
She probably was. She went off with him in his little car.
His little car. I know, right?
Thugs.
It's like her other dude has this super awesome red sports car or whatever. She's like, I'll come with you in your little car because you're so cool.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I think a lot of it as well is in Nawazuddin Siddiqui's delivery and his voice. Just his voice is like...
Yeah. He knows how to deliver.
Hey, what's up, Mr. Siddiqui?
Yeah, he knows how to deliver. He's good. I mean, that's why he's my favorite. The scene when the guns came out, I really thought that it was gonna be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
I was really surprised that it wasn't. Almost, I don't want to say disappointed, but like it did feel like a little bit of a letdown. I'm like, why would you let that guy live? Why wouldn't you take him out? Because
he's a coward.
It just makes sense, following logic, that guy's gonna come back. I mean, he even said, we waited for him to attack us for a long time and he didn't because he's a bastard, or he said something to that effect.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but why set yourself up for that feeling? Why not just take him out? Why let him go on? I thought they were gonna set the place on fire. Like, they didn't do anything like that. And it's like, that was a little bit frustrating because it felt like a logical fallacy in the story. It's like, I don't see why that guy, or why Nawazuddin's character wouldn't have followed through on that action just to eliminate any chance of the guy retaliating.
But maybe they're just doing that because it's the less expected turn of events. Maybe. It didn't make sense to me because we've well established that he was willing to kill his best friend. By the way, that was cool. His former best friend, the one he was almost stabbed in the back with the gold, that dude died early in the episode. And I thought it was great that they did that because I was expecting that to be a whole thing in the show. I was like, well, surely this is going to lead to something else and it's going to uncover a whole bunch of information. No, he just died. I was like, oh, well, that was short-lived. And it just kind of pulled the rug out from under me. Thanks so much for hanging out with us and listening to us banter about this episode. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Please, once again, do not spoil anything from anything beyond episode 3 in case people in the comments haven't seen anything beyond that. I know like 99% of you watching this have already watched all 8 episodes, but just in case. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and hit the notification so you don't miss when we drop a new video. And check out ACHARA KIRK and our other reactions. I'm Jaby KOAY. This is ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.